Live from the KLPR studios, it's time for Bringing the Heat with Vita Cabrera, Trinity Law, Kade Moore, and Elijah Mosier.
Well, hey, welcome into the KLPR studios. Elijah Mosier alongside Kade Moore. Kade, how are we doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good today. It's a pretty nice day out here in Kearney, Nebraska. The nice weather's kind of coming back here for us a little bit today.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, for all of you guys listening, Trinity is not feeling very well. Vita's unable to join us, so you're stuck with Kade and I today, but we got a full show planned, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, the NFL drafts coming up, and we got a few other topics to cover, a big Loper Roundup as well. So we got a lot of things to get to, Kade. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah, we got a bunch of good, important things to talk about, like NBA and then the NFL draft. It's been one of the most anticipated NFL drafts in a really long time.
Well, let's get underway, and let's start off with the NBA playoffs that got underway on Saturday. And without further ado, it was a pretty fun spectacle. All the home teams won in round one for like the first time since 2014. It was at least 10 years. It was either 2014 or 2013. I couldn't quite remember. But really, what really stood out to you, Kade?
Some things that kind of stood out to me were kind of how bad the Celtics just dominated the Heat in that first round matchup. Out of the Heat, I guess they didn't have Jimmy Butler, but that was a score that kind of surprised me. It was they kind of had a big size disadvantage. The Heat did, only having really Bam Adebayo as their only post player. So Kristaps Porzingis, his ability to be able to shoot and be in the inside. So that was a huge pickup in free agency for the Celtics to get Kristaps Porzingis. And kind of another score that impressed me was the Minnesota Timberwolves too, with Anthony Edwards. He was cooking in that third quarter. He was really fun to watch. And I think this Timberwolves team is going to be one of the more fun teams to watch throughout this playoffs if they can play like that night in and night out.
Well, I'll lean off with this whenever we're talking about the Timberwolves because I'll piggyback off of you. The Timberwolves are a fun team until they start choking. I still don't have faith in them this postseason. I still think the Suns are going to beat them in 6 games. We'll see how it continues to roll out, but there is nothing like a home game for Minnesota fans. People show out. They're so excited to be there because they only get so many, and there's like each win that they get, that's like winning a conference championship right there because that's how little that happens. Anthony Edwards played really well. I caught the end of that matchup. I was at Loper Soccer before that. But it was just a really fun environment to look at. And on Friday night is Game 3. And I'm actually going to head back home this weekend to Columbus. And one of my good friends, his name's Kyler, he's a Phoenix Suns fan. 9:30 local tip-off, but he's coming over to my place. We're going to be drinking some root beer, and we're going to be enjoying some playoff basketball. It'll be a lot of fun. But what stood out to me, I'm going to lead off with this one. And what really shocked me was a game that was played yesterday, and it was the Pacers and the Bucks. The Bucks don't have Giannis, and so I thought the Pacers would be able to compete a little bit. I thought that with Halliburton and everybody that Indiana brings to the table, I thought they might be able to compete a little bit better with Milwaukee, but we didn't exactly see that. And the Mavericks still just seem to be struggling, Kade.
Yeah, that Pacers score did surprise me too, with kind of how the Bucks have been having some animosity before the playoffs. They were not playing their best basketball, and then for Damian Lillard to come out here and score 35 points and make 6 3-pointers was just really impressive to me. But I think that was maybe just a little bit of a flop of a game for the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton only had 9 points. He only shot the ball 7 times, which is just really surprising to me, which that was probably the Bucks' game plan, was to find a way to slow him down on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm assuming the Pacers are going to bounce back in that series. That series I could see going to 7 games if the Pacers find a way to fight back after and win game 2.
Another series that's trending towards going the full 7 is the Thunder and the Pelicans. That game was surprisingly very competitive. Obviously, the Pelicans are down Zion Williamson right now, and they're competing really hard with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's going to be interesting to see how that develops out. I still think the Thunder get out of this first round, but I don't think they get past the second.
Yeah, the Thunder, that was also a surprising score for me, because with just right now throughout the whole NBA playoffs, there's so many star players that are hurt, with Zion Williamson, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, just to name a few, which is kind of crappy for this time of the year. You want to see all your best players playing their best basketball, but the Pelicans, they hung in there until the end. They were down, they fought back, and then you could just kind of tell at the end that Thunder were just going to hit a shot there at the end, and I think it's Wallace. I can't think of his first name. He's from Kentucky. He clamped down C.J. McCollum in that last possession to win that game. So that was a really fun game to watch. I caught the tail end of that one when I got home back from this weekend.
All right, there's 3 games that we haven't mentioned yet in the first round series. All these games took place on Saturday. The Cavaliers beat the Magic 97-83, and which was kind of a surprising matchup for me as I have the Magic to get past the Cavs in 6 games. And that's interesting to me. I thought the Magic would come out a little bit stronger with Paolo Banchero, but they didn't come out of the gate very strong, and the Cavs had the 1-0 lead. But, of course, Cavs were at home. Can be a little expected.
Yeah, I think it was the main thing that I saw throughout this game was the size difference for the teams with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley for the Cavs. The Magic just had nobody in matchup with them. Like, the Magic have some size, but they don't have the girth, you could say, like a Jared Allen or Evan Mobley with their length. They just bothered them on the inside with their length, with both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen getting double-doubles. And the main guy that was kind of guarding those two was Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner or even a Wendell Carter off the bench. So they just don't have the size to really match up with the Cavs, which I didn't really expect. But this is a Magic team you haven't seen in the playoffs in a really long time.
All right, let's get into the Knicks and Sixers. We had the whole Madison Square Garden conversation. By the way, I did watch the Billy Joel concert on Friday night. I was drinking my sarsaparilla and just enjoying my old time listening to Piano Man. But the Knicks got it done in Game 1. It was a little closer than some people thought, but Josh Hart played a big role in the Knicks game that win.
Yeah, Josh Hart there at the end of the fourth quarter hit 2 really tough three-pointers, and his second one especially was contested about 5 or 6 feet behind the three-point line. It was a fun game to watch, and I was kind of expecting the Sixers just to fall away because with Joel Embiid getting hurt in that second quarter, I think it was, he pump faked, he stepped through, he threw the ball off the backboard to himself and dunked it, and then he just came off a knee surgery a couple weeks ago. This is only his 7th game, I think, off his knee injury, and he kind of hurt his knee coming down after dunking it. So I thought the Sixers just were going to roll away, but Tyrese Maxey and Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre kind of picked up the slack for Embiid, but then Embiid was able to come back after halftime and play good. So I don't know how the longevity of the Sixers team will last throughout the playoffs, but it was a pretty good game. I did not expect it to be that close there at the end, but the Knicks are also a fun team to watch too. It's Madison Square Garden during playoff times, a really fun environment to watch a basketball game.
Also during a Billy Joel concert. I mean, his final concert of his residency at Madison Square Gardens in July.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. He's been doing it for a long time, and so
he's been. You said he's sold out. He sold out Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
right? That's crazy.
100 straight times, for quite a few years. He's been doing concerts monthly at Madison Square Garden. They've been selling out.
That's incredible. I didn't even know anything about that, but
neither had I until they did that live special. And so the Knicks are one of those teams where I'm rooting for them because it's been such a long time for them. And so, but the Sixers are just heavily favored with Joel Embiid coming back. And so I think that's the series I'm most interested to keep an eye on, minus the one with my own team on it.
Yeah.
And then the last series we haven't talked about yet, the Nuggets got past the Lakers in Game 1. And this is just a series that doesn't interest me as much. I don't know why, but it just doesn't tickle anything that makes me curious.
Yeah, because it's been, they showed a stat during the game where the Nuggets have won 8 straight times against this Lakers squad. I think that has to be dating back to their playoff series last year. I thought to start off the game, Anthony Davis and LeBron James were cooking on offense, playing really good, and they were leading at halftime, and then they were fighting pretty well throughout that third quarter. And then I went to my friend's house to go with my group of friends to go watch the fourth quarter of the Nuggets and Lakers game. And by the time I got to my friends, it was tied when I left my house, and the Lakers were down 10 when I got to my friend's house. I was like, what the heck happened here? The Lakers were looking good, and then they just fell right off. I don't know. The Nuggets, they just look so good, which I think the only team in that Western Conference I can see bothering them is the Timberwolves or maybe the Phoenix Suns, but like maybe the Clippers, but like I don't see the Thunder beating the Nuggets. It's just Nikola Jokic is just too good, and then with the slashing of Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray and the shooting of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Michael Porter Jr., just they're going to be a tough out for anybody in this playoffs to knock them out of the playoffs. I could definitely see them going back to back. They're a fun team to watch with Jokic, just the way his play style is.
It would be a lot of fun to watch the Nuggets and Timberwolves reclass their playoff series from last year, which was a fun one to go through. But tonight, the first round continues. The Magic are at the Cavs. That game tips off at 6 Central on NBA TV. 6:30 Central Time, Sixers at Knicks. And then 9 o'clock in the nightcap, the Lakers are at the Nuggets. So now before we finish up on our NBA conversation, I want to ask you this. I have the bracket right in front of me. Which series do you think is most likely to be a 4-game sweep, and which series do you think is most likely to be a 7-game thriller? And I'm going to lead off. I'm going to lead off with my sweep. I think the sweep, after looking at all these games in the first round, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think the Clippers might get past the Mavs in 4 games. The Mavericks just don't seem like they have it.
Yeah, the Mavericks did not. They looked like they struggled in that first round. They were just like this, had no offensive consistency. It was just like Luka or nobody on that team in that first game. I'll have to look around. It's either, I want to say the Celtics and the Heat, but I feel like if Jimmy Butler comes back, they're at least going to get one. But the series that looks the most dominant to me is this Cleveland Cavaliers team. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to sweep the Orlando Magic.
We both went with 4 5s there.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I didn't even realize that before I said it, but I was like, I don't know. It's so tough. That's a tough one to predict.
I like my 7-game thriller being the Knicks and the Sixers. Like I said, that series just is so interesting to me. I don't know what it is about those two teams, but they're just tickling the curiosity that I have, and like I'm interested to see if it goes 7 games.
Yeah, it's either. Because it's just interesting how Embiid's going to hold up. He's a massive guy, but when he is healthy, I think the Sixers team can get by the Knicks. They were a higher favorite to make the NBA or to make the conference championship more than the Knicks, or even it might have been to get out of the East. They were higher favorites than the Knicks, being the 7 seed compared to the 2 seed. But looking around at this bracket, I would kind of have to agree with you with the Knicks and the 76ers being the 7-game series with how competitive that first game was, as we can hear the national anthem going on behind us. But
I'm not sure what that is, but
I think it's for Alex is doing the theater thing. I think that's what it's for. He's doing recording. I think that is my guess.
I don't have a guess, but I mean it's a good anthem.
It's just sounds really good. But in that Bucks Pacers series could, if the Sixers or if the Pacers could turn something around, but definitely the Knicks 76ers.
I'm not even sure if you can hear it if you're listening online, but I do want to transition into this. The NBA did release their regular season award finalists, and I just brief explanation if you got one, but I just want to hear yours as we go through each of them. So the clutch player of the year: Stephen Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Shai Gilgeous, and Alexander. I'm going Stephen Curry.
Yeah, Curry I've watched him multiple times. He's hit so many game winners. I think that's Curry for sure.
Most improved player: Tyrese Maxey, Alperen Sengun, and Kobe White. I can tell you I've heard of one of those players in Tyrese Maxey, so that's my pick.
Yeah, I think the way Kobe White played in that game, in their play-in game against the Hawks, he was cooking, but I think it's going to be Tyrese Maxey the way he's been playing.
Finalists for NBA Sixth Man of the Year: Malik Monk, Bobby Portis, Naz Reid. This is rumored to be between Monk and Reid. I got to go with Naz Reid. He's my Timberwolves guy.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that. I like Naz Reid. I like all the Naz Reid memes that I see on social media too. He's a fun guy to watch.
They're so good. Finalists for NBA Coach of the Year: Mark Daigneault, Chris Finch, and Jamal Mosley. This one, I want to go with Finch so badly, but I think I got to give this to Daigneault of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tight race. I actually like these 3 finalists.
Yeah, there's always these brand new coaches. All the kind of the well-known names are kind of getting out, but with these coaches, they're all kind of newer coaches, you could say.
Finch has been there for a few years.
Who's he the coach of?
The Wolves.
Wolves, yeah. I don't know. I've not been paying attention to coaches that much. Gosh, Thunder coach or Timberwolves coach? Yeah, it's probably they're going to give it to the Thunder.
Okay. Like I said, I wanted to be Finch, but I got to be realistic at the same time. NBA Rookie of the Year, Chet Holmgren, Brandon Miller, or Victor Wembanyama. It's probably going to be Wembanyama.
Yeah, Wembanyama. He honestly could have won Defensive Player of the Year, but they kind of...
Although Holmgren is first is last in the Western Conference for Rookie of the Year. I would like to think it'd be Holmgren, but I think it's Wembanyama.
Yeah, Wembanyama just as a rookie. I guess you could say Chet's a rookie because he missed his whole first year, but he's technically a second-year guy, kind of like Ben Simmons, but he didn't play a game last year because getting hurt in the Pro-Am in the summer. But Wembanyama, if he gets anybody that will just pass him the ball when he's rolling down the lane wide open, they will be a really tough out moving on if they can get some players around him.
Defensive Player of the Year, Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, and Victor Wembanyama. I'm going with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I think they're going to give it to Gobert, but I think Wembanyama should get it, but he's a rookie, but we'll give it to Gobert.
Rookies shouldn't earn those types of awards. I don't care what you do. They don't get respect.
It's scary that he has his stat line as a rookie. It's scary for the NBA moving forward.
Well, then why didn't the Spurs do better?
Look, because they didn't pass him the ball as much. He would be like driving down or rolling down the lane, and they would you'd be like, throw it up, and they wouldn't throw him the lob. So I don't know. They need players around him. He's not a LeBron James type yet.
Exactly. He's just a rookie. Most valuable MVP, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Give me Shai. He's the 1 seed in the West. He's a big part of that. Don't just give it to Doncic to Jokic.
They're going to give it to Jokic again. It's going to be back to back. Even though it shouldn't be, it should be Doncic or Shai, but it's going to go to Jokic.
Yeah, I disagree. Moving on. UEFA Champions League, we talked about it last week. They were finishing up the quarterfinals with the second leg. Arsenal and Bayern Munich was tied at 2 apiece. Then Bayern Munich got the lone goal scored by Kimmich in the 63rd minute in the second leg to advance to the semis. Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund was in favor of Atletico Madrid before Borussia Dortmund dominated that second leg 4-2 to take home the 5-4 aggregate and advance to the semis, making the second German team to advance to the semis. Real Madrid got past Manchester City, the reigning champs, and knocked out the last Premier League team in penalty kicks. And then Paris Saint-Germain, who Vita said last week did not belong here, defeated Barcelona after a dominating 4-1 leg. And so that sets up our semifinals, which start on April 30th. So that's a week away. And between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, who I think the winner of that will win the whole thing. And then Borussia Dortmund and Paris Saint-Germain. Your thoughts, Kade?
Yeah, I was able to tune into to that PSG versus Barcelona game in the second half. In that first half, a player for Barcelona, I'm not sure who it was, in that first half got a red card. So they were down to 10 men in that second half. And Barcelona kind of hung around for a little bit in that second half, but then Mbappe scored 2 goals there in that second half and then just kind of ran away with it. And Barcelona's manager got kicked out of the game, and Barcelona's they had a assistant manager come in and manage, and he also got a red card. So
what a rough week for Barcelona. Yeah. They lost El Clasico yesterday too to Real Madrid. You know, the biggest soccer match to exist that doesn't mean anything in terms of tournament, but it's the biggest rivalry of all time. And I can't wait for the NFL to play a game there in a year or two, because that's an amazing venue. But I mean, Barcelona, what a rough week for the team I claim as my international club team, just because Messi used to play there.
Yeah, and with I think I always used to play with Barcelona when they had Suarez, Neymar, and Messi in FIFA, so that was always usually one of the teams I would rock with. But
You always find a way to fit Neymar into the conversation.
You always have to. Neymar, because he was the man. He's getting a little older now, but you always got to talk about the Brazilian. But
So who do you got in the semis?
I would probably say probably Real Madrid is going to win it all, is my guess.
Okay, we'll see how that goes and turns out. Moving on, we put this into our agenda for today just this afternoon because I came across this and I thought it was unbelievable, and it was so unbelievable we had to talk about it. The dominance in the golf world. Scottie Scheffler and Nelly Korda. Scheffler's won 4 of his last 5 events. Korda's won her last 5. And the one event that Scheffler didn't win, he finished runners-up in. And in those 5 tournaments, Scheffler's 76 under par and Korda's 61 under par. These two have been dominant.
Yeah, Scottie Scheffler in his last, he's shot. He's played he has 44 rounds in a row where he shot under par. Tiger Woods has the record at 52, and I could see Scottie Scheffler he in his next 2 events possibly beating that record or tying the record, I would say. But then he would need to get it in the first round of his 3rd event. But the way Scottie Scheffler's been playing, it's just he has been unstoppable. Justin Thomas in an interview during the CBS broadcast was like saying how Scottie plays boring golf because he just plays so simple and smart, and he's impossible to beat because Scottie Scheffler hits every fairway, hits every green in regulation. His putting has been his weakness, but he has been when he's been putting well, he's unstoppable to beat. So I just think it's fun. I think Justin Thomas is just a little sad that he's not playing as well as he used to, and Scottie's just absolutely dominating. It's the most dominant run in golf since Tiger Woods in the early 2000s.
And how do you stop somebody as dominant as Scottie Scheffler? Well, with rain. Their final round got suspended until this morning, where he finished at 19 under par, 3 strokes better than second place. But what's amazing is Scottie's lead in the world rankings over number 2 Rory McIlroy is bigger than McIlroy's lead over number 784th ranked Tiger Woods. That's how dominant Scottie Scheffler's been.
That's crazy. That's a crazy stat. I don't know. It just, and then in the I think it's in the FedEx points ranking. I think Wyndham Clark's in second place, and there's a huge gap between Scheffler and Clark in that first and second place. So he's just dominating. I was saying the only way any of these golfers are going to stop Scottie Scheffler from winning is if his wife has a kid, because that's what he said during the Masters. If his wife goes into labor, he's walking off the course and he's going to go be with his wife. Which as a person like me, I would agree with that, because you only get your first kid one time. You can get the Masters a bunch of or for the rest of your life, I guess, as a champion until they tell you to stop coming back and playing. So I can agree with his thinking there, but yeah, I don't think that's going to fall during a tournament. He's going to be.
So I looked it up. Wyndham Clark has 4,823 points, and that is over 5,000 less than Scottie Scheffler.
He's just absolutely just dominating. He's unstoppable right now.
And got to remember that we are shouting out not just Scottie Scheffler, but the dominance of Nelly Korda as well. I mean, those two are just in a big win streak, and it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can top them. But had to talk about them very briefly. But now we can move on to Detroit and the NFL draft. The Bears hold the number 1 pick on Thursday night. The Commanders number 2, Patriots 3, Cardinals 4, and Chargers round out the top 5. What are our big draft storylines, Kade?
Well, it was the whole storyline in the offseason it's all figured out now with the Chicago Bears and the Justin Fields, Caleb Williams saga. That was kind of the huge storyline throughout the summer. Bears fans saying, we want to keep Justin Fields, and other fans saying, no, we want Caleb Williams. And then they finally decided to trade Justin Fields away to the Steelers. And then it's going to be which one of these teams is going to trade up and take J.J. McCarthy. Is it going to be the Minnesota Vikings? Is it going to be the Denver Broncos? I don't know. The Denver Broncos, they might stick with Zach Wilson now, the stud out of BYU from the New York Jets. They just traded for him today. And then who's going to be the second quarterback drafted between Jayden Daniels and Drake May? That's another big storyline. And with the stacked wide receiver class throughout this whole entire first round, it's super big on wide receivers. So I'm just interested to see where all these big name wide receivers land.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to be decided whenever it comes to the draft on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Lots of things to go down. And for my Wild particular, for my Vikings, I don't know why I went with Wild. I'm still in hockey season. But for the Vikings, there is such a fine line with what they have. They have 2 first-round picks, but I don't think they have a day 2 pick right now. I can actually fact check that since I have it pulled up. And so, yeah, they don't have a day 2 pick right now. But they want to get their quarterback of the future because all they have right now is Sam Darnold, which, yeah, he could work for a year. But that's not going out to try and win a Super Bowl. If you have Sam Darnold on your roster, he might get you to the playoffs, but he's not going to get you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so it's just, where do you want to build? Because there's other gaps on this team too. Because that defense is lacking as well. And so where do you find that room for it? And so now here's where I bring this up. Have you seen the new uniforms that have been dropping? The Browns' new helmet, the Jets' new uniforms. Who else? I know the Broncos just dropped theirs today. Theirs a little less impressive. But who else dropped their new uniforms?
I would have to look.
The Texans just dropped their new uniforms. And so a lot of the new uniforms look really good. But do you want to know who's been leaking all of those, Kade?
Who is that?
Antonio Brown.
He's the best. Got the best media. He's got the CTSPN. He's got the...
Yeah.
That's crazy. He needs to get his phone taken away from him. But it's just crazy how he's figuring everything out.
Yeah, he's leaking everything else. But you know what else he's been posting lately? He's very confident in this. He says that I gotta get this correct, but that the Chargers are looking to, well, I shouldn't say it the way the Vikings are looking to trade the Chargers for Justin Herbert.
Really? I have seen like clips of where Justin Fields in a Vikings uniform, and that's exactly. So then Michigan would want to take J.J. McCarthy because Jim Harbaugh is the new coach. Is that what he's trying to get at?
1 minute ago, he tweeted, and this is a CT ESPN network. He said, CT ESPN source says Herbert speculation is real. Sources credible. We report credible sources. Make or break for CT ESPN. But like he's also said, like he's gotten everything else right. He's leaked all the uniforms correctly, and so I mean, is this a real possibility? And he did mention that he did mention what the source is talking about, and I believe it'd be 2 first-round picks this year, as well as the left tackle as
Darisaw.
Yeah, Darisaw, and a second-round pick. And so, I mean, how much do you take into that speculation?
I don't know. I didn't know he's predicted all that right. If that could be a possibility. I don't know. They've talked about a lot of teams trading back into the draft, but I haven't heard of Justin Herbert getting traded away from the Chargers. But what it would get, that would be for the Vikings if they would be able to get Justin Herbert on that squad.
And then Coach Harbaugh can go get J.J. McCarthy. But that's just the thing. That's just speculation. And it's one thing to get jerseys correctly, but it's a whole other thing to get team news correctly. But it was just something interesting that came across my feed. Anything else that really that you see or as being some good storylines? I'm kind of interested to see who's the first wide receiver. Obviously, Marvin Harrison's rate a little bit higher, but we've seen some trending up between other wide receivers such as Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors, he kind of stands out to me. The way he's been playing how he played with Jane Daniels at LSU, but he's been fun to watch, and we'll see where Rome Odunze goes. But another thing I was thinking of is where Brock Bowers lands in this NFL draft too.
All right, Kade, so we're down 2 people today, but you know who just walked into the studio?
Hi, fellas.
The famous Alex Hammocky. Alex, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I got a full 8 hours of sleep this morning. Regretfully, though, I did not have KLPR daybreak because I slept through my morning alarm. So this is how I'm getting back my KLPR time for the day.
All right. Well, we're just about to wrap up our first segment before we get into the Lopers, but do you have any NFL draft thoughts first?
No, I don't think there's any big NFL. I don't think there's any big names from the MIAA who are slated to be picked. Speaking of, well, I was about to say, because the draft's a Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you can tell I don't pay attention much to the professionals when they're out of their season. I was about to say, have players started yet for the NBA?
Yeah.
Just started on Sunday.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. I don't really pay that much attention to any of the pros in all reality. It was a miracle that I watched the Super Bowl this year, and I'm a sports comm major. So just sit on that. Just sit on that, fellas.
So if you'll stick with us, we're going to take a break, but do you want to stick with us for our Loper segment?
Of course. I'll be able to stick around for a little bit.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, it's time to talk all things Lopers on 91.1 KLPR.
Eating healthier snacks is a great alternative to the regular fatty snacks like chips, candy, and more. Eating healthy snacks can improve your overall health and decrease your chance for things like diabetes in your future.
Snacking can even out your blood sugar levels so you don't experience the spikes of insulin that can even lead to weight gain. Healthy snacks don't have to be boring. Choosing to eat healthy can mean munching on salty popcorn or yogurt with fresh berries. It can even mean treating yourself to delicious dark chocolate.
Look for snacks that are low in sugar, fat, and salt. Try to find snacks that are high in nutrients such as fiber and protein. For more information on healthy snacking, visit AmericanHeartAssociation.org.
What are you eating there?
Oh, I'm eating a protein ball.
What's that?
It's a ball of protein. It's made from healthy things like oats and peanut butter and can save you tons of money compared to buying processed snacks.
Well, that just sounds like a hassle to make, and I would rather just have a bag of chips.
These are full of fiber and keep you energized through the whole day. There are a lot of different snacks that can be made at home that offer you more nutritional value than processed snacks. There's a ton of other things like trail mix, grapes, cheese, crackers, carrots, and endless possibilities with homemade creations.
Oh, wow. All those do sound good. To learn more about snacking healthy, visit myplate.gov.
Newspapers aren't dying, but they are changing. The Antelope Student Newspaper has it covered. From UNK athletics and events to student features and COVID-19 policies. To be heard, buy an advertisement, write a letter to the editor, pick up a copy, or visit unkantelope.com today. The Antelope. News for students, by students.
Going out to eat is nice because it's easy and convenient. But if you stay at home and cook your own meal, you can save up to $832 a year. That money could be spent on student debt or even better, on a spring break trip.
Not only can reducing the amount of times you go out to eat help your wallet, it can give you tremendous health benefits overall. Eating fast food is linked to increased risk of cardiovascular disease, obesity, and other chronic diseases.
Saving money and reducing dangerous health risks are only a couple of the many benefits that are associated with reducing the number of times you eat out.
So stay home and eat. You'll thank yourself later.
You've all heard it before. Communication is key. Well, to us at Lambda Pi Eta, we take this statement seriously. Lambda Pi Eta is UNK's Communication Honor Society, which recognizes, fosters, and rewards outstanding scholastic achievement while stimulating interest in the communication discipline. For more information about Lambda Pi Eta, contact the UNK Communication Department at 308-865-8249.
Grandpa is getting older and he keeps forgetting my name, but he never forgets his morning coffee.
I started drinking coffee in college so I could stay up to study, but I kept it up after college because it helped me stay on top of my stressful job.
An unhealthy amount of coffee throughout a day can change a lifetime.
Grandpa, are you okay?
Increased coffee intake can lead to a higher risk of memory loss and heart disease. If you or someone you know is consuming too much coffee, visit mayoclinic.org or call 507-284-2511.
Back here in KLPR Studios on Bringing the Heat, Alex Hammocky will be back with us here very shortly. He went to go cut some stuff up for us. But you know what? It's time to get into our Loper segment. And there's lots of things to talk about. And so I'm going to lead off with the shout out to the golf team who was at the MIAA Championships today. They finished 7th at 32 over par, and currently they're not completely finished yet. Allison Comer is tied for 7th at 5 over par, and Juliana Botero Molina is at 6 over par and tied for 13th. Obviously, these are still unofficial yet, but had to give that shout out while we could. And so, Kade, lots of things were happening in Loper World this weekend. Did you have what were all the events that you made it out to this weekend?
Well, on Friday, me and you called the Newman versus UNK softball games. And then after the game was over and we went and packed up the stuff here in the studio, went checked out the Loper spring game and stayed for all that. So that was pretty fun to watch on the sidelines with Trayton Harmon and Ethan McCormick and John Willis.
Oh, you guys were all chilling on the sidelines?
Yeah, I was sitting there in the stands with my friends. Then I went out there and just kind of stood with them for a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I went to Loper softball. Then I went back, watched my Billy Joel concert, and then I went to Loper soccer on Saturday. So I didn't do any football.
Now I'm curious. So were you watching when they cut off during Piano Man?
No, but I did hear about it, which is what made me want to watch Friday.
Gotcha. I was curious because I don't think there was a lot of Central Nebraska. We got to get the pitchforks out and basically, burn down the 1011 studios. But you mess people and you rub them the wrong way, and all of a sudden places get burned and stations get boycotted.
All right. So let's lead off with Loper football. They had their spring game on Friday night. Kade, you were there. Alex, did you make it out?
I unfortunately was not able to. So
oh yeah, you had.
Since I was part of UNK's UNK theater production of Say It Out Loud, I was unable to make it to no athletic events this weekend. Which, yes, again, sports comm major. It seems like I'm failing at that, but I'm also sound recording tech minor, so it happens. But I'm curious. What I was about to say, Kate, you were at the spring.
Yeah.
Elijah, you weren't. But for good reason though, with Billy Joel. I'm curious, what did you like out of that team that you saw out there?
So for starters, I like the way that they did the 2-team format.
Okay.
Unlike the offensive defense they have done before, I feel like it made it a little more competitive. And the player that kind of stood out to me on the offensive side of the ball was Reagan Jones. The Missouri Western transfer, he was making throws left and right. He had a throw for a touchdown. I think it was, I don't know how far it was, but he was rolling left on the run with his right hand and threw like a 50-yard touchdown. He was making plays left and right, which he kind of had to scramble a lot. They're kind of don't have a lot of depth on the offensive line right now, but I'm thinking they're going to bring in a couple more people. But so they had to split up the offensive line a little bit, and they were playing both ways. So he didn't really have as much time as I think he's going to have. So seeing that with him kind of running around with not as much protection as he is going to have throughout the season, it was pretty impressive to me for offensive side of the ball with Reagan Jones.
I'll tell you what concerns me right here. I wasn't there. This is where I'm leaving it open to you, Kade, to rebuttal me. But the blue team beat the white team, and the white team was the team that had Reagan Jones as their starting quarterback. But it was only a 15-10 game. But then again, the Michigan spring game had an equally low-scoring game. But that just kind of concerns me that the offense is going to be somewhat lackluster in the fall.
Well, I think you look at how this past year went, and this was a team that was led defensively, really. The defense kept them in games. I kind of ignored the Central Oklahoma game, where the defense almost gave Central Oklahoma the win, it seemed like, and then it was the punt fake. I think, for me, the offense and the special teams are the two units that have to improve the most. Defensively, I think we're sound. And I think I was about to say, just looking at the box score, the defensive soundness that we've got is what's going to be our strong suit, I think, for the conference. That'll get us victories over Chadron. That'll get us victories over Southwest Minnesota State. I think it could get us a victory over Washburn, perhaps. Then there's a couple of toss-up games. If the offense doesn't start to whip it into shape a little bit over the summer and into early fall, it could be a repeat. I'm fearing we might have a repeat of what we saw this past year if we don't get the offense where it needs to go. Part of that is you got a quarterback now who is used to running a Ryan-held system offense. Not the way that we had it previously where you threw TJ in, you're trying to shove a square peg into a round hole, to say the least. With TJ being a run-first option RPO quarterback, and you throw him into an air raid off, it's just not going to work. That was the biggest concern for me last year, was that, okay, he wasn't going to be able to turn it from RPO to air raid on a dime in the offseason. Why did we try and do that this past year? If they do that again, that's where I'm going to find myself concerned.
All right, so not to be mentioned, the redshirt freshman quarterback, Abram Schulting, he threw 2 touchdown passes to lead the blue team to victory. So where are we at with the starting quarterback competition? Who do you think it'll be in the fall? I mean, Jones will probably have the upper hand to start out with, but Schulting had a good showing on Friday night.
Yeah, with Jones is probably having the more experience, being the graduate transfer quarterback. He's probably, I would say he would get the starting job, but then Schulting is just, if Jones ever slips up in a game, they could throw him right in there, right behind him. So it could be a mix of, there could be a little bit of a competition here when they start up kind of their fall camp in late July, early August for the fall season. But yeah, the defense was the main part of that spring game. Only 3 touchdowns were scored, and Coach Eldon in his interview was kind of saying he wants his team to be a little more balanced this year with Isaiah Harris, the UNL transfer, coming in to be a workhorse running back with them, and now having Reagan Jones having a competent quarterback to throw the ball. But a kind of a thing to note was the special teams. The special teams was struggling. Honestly, the best punter on the day was David Lilly for the blue team. Came out and punt for the linebacker for the Lopers, was punting for the blue team, and he looked like he was the best punter of them all. It was kind of funny to watch. He was playing. He had 10 total tackles on defense, multiple tackles for loss. He was one of the standouts on the defensive side of the ball for the Lopers for sure.
I think it's going to be Reagan Jones as a starting quarterback day one. I think you're going to have a pretty solid competition for that backup spot between Schulting and Traven Beckman, who was at Kearney High for the longest. He was at Kearney High, then went to UNL and decided right around Thanksgiving, Christmas era, right around that time, decided to flip over and join back in the football side of things, go to UNK. I think there's going to be a very spirited backup QB competition, and if you see any sign of distress, we're going to see a quarterback change, I think, for whoever wins that backup competition between Beckman and Schulting.
And so that wraps up the spring game conversation, Quarterbacks, punters, we don't need to talk about anything else, right? We got it all covered. The Lopers men's tennis team, this is a good topic for Alex Hammocky, defeated the 4th-ranked team in the Junior College Athletic Association and Barton. And that was a 5-2 match. And Alex, I know you had some money on this game.
Well, okay. Before you say I had money on this game, I'm not a betting man, and sports betting and sports wagering is illegal in the state of Nebraska. Now then, the winning program's alumni association is going to get a $25 check. I still need to write one out to Rich Broderson. But Rich, if you're listening, I'll be in Wednesday, Thursday to drop it off. And the best part is I'm not an alumni yet. So just build the account now. But looking at it, I was able to watch some of the doubles matches for a while and got to be there. And it's good to hang out with Stickney again. Lyle Stickney, the Barton tennis coach. But it's just, it's a good competition there they had. Barton was down a couple of their guys, and we'll mention that in defense of my former alma mater, proud AA in sports management from 2021. But it was a really good competition, and the best part as well is that, for some of those Barton guys, it was a good recruiting opportunity for you. If things go your way, you're able to beat the UNK kid. Well, hey, how's it going, Coach Schaefer? I just beat your number 3 singles. Here's my phone number. Here's my coach. Let's talk.
And that wasn't all for the men's tennis team as well, or the women's tennis team. The men's team also competed against the 40th ranked Southern Arkansas on Saturday. Southern Arkansas got that game, but they bounced back against Southeastern Oklahoma State on Sunday. The women, however, took down number 12 ranked Southern Arkansas, as well as number 39th ranked Southeastern Oklahoma State. So big weekend for the Loper tennis teams.
We won't see it reflected in the rankings until Wednesday, so it won't be in my MIAA mailbag, unfortunately, which I plan on writing tonight or tomorrow. But that's a team that should be going up in the rankings. I think they've been in the top 50. I think they're somewhere in between the 35 to 50 range. I'd expect them to be above the 35 rank now that they've been able to get some of those key victories.
Kade, any thoughts on tennis? Well, it's really good to see them performing well. They deserve their shout-outs. Also deserving their shout-outs, wrapping up their spring season campaign as well, was the UNK volleyball team. They took on Shadman State on Friday night, and then they hosted their Legends Classic on Saturday. Can't wait to see what they can do in the fall. The Loper softball team was home for their final homestand this weekend. They took on Newman and Central Oklahoma. The Newman games we were at, Kade, we got to call those. And first off, Addy Deal, we apologize. We'll get your name right further along the line, as that got kind of screwed up along the way. But first game, Newman used a 10-run fourth inning to get past the Lopers in 5, and then the second game came down to the Lopers just out-batting the Jets, as that was a high-scoring game, and Lopers took control of that one. And so lots of fun, and then you get to the games on Saturday, when the Broncos just took over 11-0 run rule on Friday, and then a 6-5 close win for the Broncos on Saturday.
Yeah, UNK was finally able to start getting the bats kind of going a little bit. Like, if they kind of struggled earlier on in the year with some tougher competition like Missouri Western and Pitt State and Washburn, all teams nationally rated. They were really unable to score runs. In that Emporia State series, they were able to get some runs and be able to get the momentum turning. And then in that Newman game, in that second game for sure, they were just on fire from the plate. But it was really that first game that we called UNK played 4 good innings, just had that one rough top of the fourth inning where they scored 10 runs, had 15 batters, and 13 of them, or was it 13 of them reached base? It was just like it's a crazy inning
on only 6 hits.
Yeah, 6 hits. And then so there was a lot of walks and just a lot of uncharacteristic things for the Lopers, and just had to put Madeline Jansen in some tough spots with putting her into the game with bases loaded in back-to-back games. So, but the Lopers were able to get a game back from Newman in that second game.
Unfortunately, I think this weekend knocked him out of MIAA tournament contention, because you needed to have a weekend where you sweep Newman, and then you split on Central Oklahoma. Central Oklahoma split with Hayes on Friday. I think they swept Newman more than likely. Let me ask Newman. I hate to say that about the Jets, but you basically get a free win against them. The only team that I have seen out of Newman that has been competitive was when Drew Johnson was coaching them. And when we hired Drew away from Newman, they kind of fell back to their old Newman ways. But you look at this past weekend, for me is a bit of a disappointing one. I was looking for a 4-game split where you sweep Newman and then you get swept by Central Oklahoma, and then you hope that you get maybe a win in that Central Oklahoma series, and then you kind of just hope for the worst for Fort Hays, and complete reversing of the tides. Worst happens for UNK, and the best happens for Fort Hays. And now you got Rogers State this weekend, which is not going to be an easy task either.
But they also have Northeastern State, who's at the bottom of the conference. So they're not completely out of it. They are currently at 6-16, and Fort Hays State is at 7-14. Newman did beat them once, and it looked like they only played one game. So Newman jumped UNK in the standings. UNK is currently 12th, Newman 11th, and Fort Hays State at 10th. So they are still in it. They need that sweep over Northeastern State.
They need that sweep, yeah.
And they need potentially one game against Rogers State to probably be in contention.
Yeah. Right now, it doesn't look good for them, but I mean, they're not fish out of water yet. They're just a fish that's right on the shoreline.
Because Fort Hays has the exact same opponents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were needing to get that sweep over Newman was the big factor there.
So that will wrap up our Loper conversation. When we get back, it's time for our hot takes, as well as a little hockey talk here on Bringing the Heat.
Powdered greens for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Greens, greens, greens.
Aren't powdered greens only supposed to be used for supplements? Greens are a new trendy nutrition product. I get all the nutrients I need when I take these. No, these need to be complemented by whole fruits and vegetables. What? Much of the nutritional content is lost in the process of making powdered greens. Not to mention, powdered greens are quadruple the price of frozen vegetables. Oh, I had no idea. I guess I'll be on my way to buy more whole fruits and vegetables.
For more information, go to health.unl.edu.
Up to 96% of college students get less than 8 hours of sleep each night. Getting adequate sleep is beneficial to both your mental and physical health. It could also improve your daily performance. Your immune system will be boosted after a good night's rest. The risk of heart disease and diabetes can also be lowered by getting enough sleep. You can improve your sleep by better managing your time and setting a bedtime for yourself or having a comfortable sleeping environment that accommodates your needs. For more information, please visit sleepfoundation.org.
Boy, am I tired.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I only had a cup of coffee. I'm still waiting for the caffeine to kick in.
This conversation sounds all too familiar. College students tend to skip breakfast without knowing the impact it has on their education. Here's how it should go. I feel great this morning. I'm ready to take on the day.
Man, how did you do it?
I followed My Plate's guidelines for a healthy breakfast. For an optimal breakfast, choose foods from each of the My Plate food groups. Eating a healthy breakfast kickstarts a successful day. When you feed your body, you're feeding your mind too. Go to myplate.gov for more information.
Whether it's food, shopping, or just hanging out, the Nebraskan Student Union has it all. Come dine in our newly renovated dining hall, The Grays, or check out wonderful retail dining options. Looking for new Loper gear to wear to the next campus event? Drop into the bookstore and shop Loper clothing and merchandise. Just looking for a place to hang out or study? The Union has plenty of meeting rooms and tables at your disposal. The Nebraskan Student Union, located in the heart of the University of Nebraska at Kearney campus.
The second week in a row, I got you, Kade. I need to talk a little bit more on that. But you got Kade Moore, special guest, Alex Hammocky. As we welcome you guys back into Bringing the Heat, let's start off with our hot takes. Last week, on our prediction panel, I had the Warriors defeating the Lakers, but first they would have to get past the Kings, and they did not get past the Kings.
How'd that work out for you?
It did not get me any points on the board. Trinity had the Kings getting past the Warriors and then getting past either the Pelicans or the Lakers. That did not happen. And then, Kade, you had the Heat getting past the Sixers. That did not happen. And Vida had Madrid and Barcelona winning their games in the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals. That did not happen either. It was a rough week for all of us. We're all tied at 1 after 4 weeks. And so we try to get back on track. Leading off with mine this week, I'm going Tri-City Storm. Tri-City Storm, a local hockey team in the USHL. They are in the second round of the Clark Cup playoffs, and they're taking on the number 1 seed Fargo Force, and I got the Storm in 5 games later this week.
There you go. But my hot take this week is I don't know if it's how much of a hot take it is. I've heard a lot of different opinions, but I'm saying that Roma Dunze will get drafted to the Bears at number 9. I've heard a lot of things saying that it could be an offensive tackle or an edge rusher or maybe another interior offensive lineman for the Bears. The reason I was just this is why I picked it is because the third wide receiver behind DJ Moore and Keenan Allen is Tyler Scott. He's a second-year receiver for the Bears. In his rookie season last year, he had 17 catches along with 168 yards in his first year. So if that's only your second receiver, I guess you have Cole Kmet at tight end, but bringing in Roma Dunze for your future of your receiving core and bringing in another weapon, if we're thinking Caleb Williams is going to be drafted number 1 overall for the Bears. So that's my hot take is wide receiver Roma Dunze from Washington will be drafted number 9 by the Chicago Bears.
You know what would be funny, Kade?
What
if they traded back 1 spot and then drafted him?
See, that's what I'm thinking. It's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of trading going on in that top 10 or 15.
All right,
I'm thinking.
Alex, I'm going to give you an opportunity here. We'll have to clear this with Trinity and Vida, of course. But I'm giving you the opportunity to make a hot take prediction for both of them this week. It's the same prediction for both of them.
Well, see, the hot take that I was thinking of wasn't even going to be. It was something you'll have to take a few years to see if it's a win or not. My hot take was that the Arizona Coyotes will not be returning to Tempe.
That's a good hot take.
I don't think they're going to return. And I say that because I think is the one owner going to get the land? Sure, but we've seen this now. Owners want to, they're going to want to get their facilities taxpayer funded.
Mm-hmm.
Royals tried that. That failed.
Didn't work.
Things did not work as well in Tempe for the Coyotes. I think that right now, the fans and I think overall municipalities are like, we're not going to pay for your pet project. You're the owner of the stadium. If you're going to have it as an ownership that the owner of the team has, you got to pay for it. I think we're going to see a lot more of that start to like uprising almost. If you want to have a team, the owner's got to pay the full share of it. I think that's going to keep the Arizona Coyotes from being back in the NHL for at least the next 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Do you have a short-term hot take for that will play out in the next week? Because that's a good long-term hot take, but I don't think any of us will be in the studio at that time.
None of us will be in the studio, I can assure you that, unless I decide to actually become a professional student, which if that happens, God bless us all, especially my bank account. But, geez, I don't really know. That's the thing. I don't really have a short-term hot take.
All right, well, let's move on to what's on the mind, Kade. And what's on my mind this week is, can we talk about hockey for once? We talked about basketball. We talked about golf. We talked about March Madness for a whole month. And then we spent hours on Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and women's college basketball. Can we talk about hockey for once? The NHL playoffs start over the weekend. And, of course, I mentioned the Tri-City Storm advanced to the second round. And a really fun round one. I'm going to lead off with them. The Storm, they had a 3-game home series against the Sioux Falls Stampede in the first round. Both of the first 2 games went to overtime. They split those 2 games. And then the Storm pounded the Stampede in Game 3 to move on to the second round. Wishing them best of luck. They'll be home Wednesday for Game 3. They're down 1-0 in the series. Game 2 is tonight. And then if they make it to Game 4, that'll also be here in Kearney on Thursday. So lots of fun for the Tri-City Storm, Kade.
Yeah, and hopefully the city of Kearney comes out there and supports them because they got nice facilities out there at the Viero Center. And it's always every time I went to a Storm game, it's been fun. It's been a fun environment to go and watch a hockey game. And it's for a average hockey fan like myself, you want to see some people get in some fights or whatever and getting the crowd into it and seeing goals. It's just a fun environment to go to a hockey game. Even if you don't know a lot about the game, it's a fun environment to go watch.
$7 tickets as well. I mean, it's plenty of fun. And that's in honor of Noreen's 7 seasons here in Kearney before he goes on to Miami, Ohio next year. And so plenty of great steals in terms of tickets. And so come on out, go support them. It'll be a lot of fun to watch the Tri-City Storm. I'm excited to watch that. And the exciting thing about playoff series is they always get so tense and they start, like the angers were ticking when I was there on Wednesday night. It was so much fun. The Lincoln Stars are also still in the USHL playoffs. They defeated Waterloo in 2 straight games and they're currently playing Sioux City in the second round. But moving on to the NHL, their playoffs started over the weekend as well. Hurricanes beat the Islanders, Bruins over the Maple Leafs. Then yesterday, Panthers over Lightning, Rangers over Capitals, Jets over the Avs, and Canucks over the Predators. I mean, the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's a fun tradition. And the Canucks are back. I mean, they're the 1 seed in the Pacific.
I remember the last time the Canucks were in the Stanley Cup and they lost back in 2011. You guys remember that?
Nope. I would.
They basically tore down Vancouver because they lost.
Nice.
That's like the UConn fans this year when they won the national championship again. They just went and raided a bunch of stores and were jumping through glass after winning the national championship. So I guess it's a good and bad thing when you win the national championship and you're a protected sport.
They lost.
Oh, they lost.
They lost.
Oh, I think they won.
They just rioted all over Vancouver because Boston won. The Bruins won. And we got into this habit in my household that you'd have the victory, but in the last minute or two, you'd flip the channel over to QVC and wait to see for them to break into whatever crap they were selling that nobody really needed, but you just had to buy for 4 easy payments at $19.95. And they'd be like, you can get your championship gear here with QVC. So the 10 people who was like, wait, that was going on tonight? I thought it was tomorrow. We'll be like, oh, okay, well, I can still buy the gear.
So, yeah, the NHL playoffs still continuing on. And
it's a weird tradition within my household. Then we got cable and QVC wasn't in the lineup.
It's always fun whenever you got Hammer on the air.
You never know what I'm going to say next.
Oh, yeah. Tonight in the NHL playoffs, Maple Leafs and Bruins up 1 game, and the series that game starts at 6 on ESPN, 6:30 on ESPN2, Islanders at the Hurricanes, 8:30 on ESPN, the Golden Knights at the Stars, and then the nightcap, 9 o'clock, Kings at the Oilers. Any predictions on this thing, on the NHL playoffs? I mean, I think the Boston Bruins are going to go all the way this year. I don't know what it is. I got Celtics and Bruins in the NBA and NHL, but Bruins are celebrating a historic season. I just think they find a way to get it done.
Yeah, with their star player, David Pastrnak. He's kind of like their main goal scorer for that team, and they got a good squad of players on the team. But the one playoff series I was able to watch, because it was kind of tough being able to watch the NHL and NBA at the same time. I had the NBA on, but when the Florida Panthers scored that first goal against the Tampa Bay Lightning, that crowd erupted. They were in a whiteout for that game, and it was just the NHL playoffs is just such a fun environment to play a game in. So I'm gonna go with you. I like the Bruins taking it all the way this year.
Yeah, Bruins, Islanders for tonight's games. Mm-hmm. Bruins, Islanders. Give me Vegas.
We'll go with
Vegas to win game 1. Winnipeg, Vancouver, and then let's get real saucy here. Give me the Kings.
Nice. I cannot stand Winnipeg. I hope the Avs come back and lose, and then they can lose in the second round because I don't like the Avs either. But
did you not like the Atlanta Thrashers?
I mean, the Thrashers are all right, but this isn't the Thrashers anymore. They're dead. They're dead like the Coyotes.
Or maybe I should root for the Avalanche. They're the hometown squad. You got to root for them. Cannon Rath being that's
not Cannon.
Or no, Cannon's the Golden Knights, right?
No,
that's John.
Willis is with the Golden Knights. I think Trayton's an Avalanche fan. I think.
Yeah, being the Rockies, that sounds about right.
I'm a fan of the Calgary Flames, but that was because I didn't really watch hockey that much, and I was like, hey, they got a cool logo, and I just solely picked on the fact that they got a cool logo.
Well, Alex, thanks for joining us this week. That's gonna round things up for Bringing the Heat. Can't wait to be back with you guys next Monday from 4 to 5. We'll talk to you guys next time.
You've been listening to Bringing the Heat, a 91.1 KLPR sports production. You can listen to all episodes wherever you get your podcasts.